into that, some of the things that I get asked frequently, and I've heard you talk about some of this stuff on your show. That's kind of why I wanted to pick your brains on it, is to that point. And somebody asked me on Twitter today as well. It's like, I don't have a quote unquote professional qualification, right? I've learned whatever it is, iOS, Android, web, just from, Google and YouTube.
Yep.
And I'm pretty good at it, but I don't have anything to say that I'm good at it. Like, how do I go about, I suppose not getting a job, but necessarily what do I do to get my foot in the door? How do I put together a CV, or what are the steps? What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think with the great resignation, kind of what we're talking about, everybody moving to a new job, I think there's so many people that are, I just had a pastor of a church message me yesterday and was like, I think it's time. I want to get into software development. What can I do? So I get this question a lot, so I'm glad you asked it.
Yeah.
But
okay, awesome.
For me, I think if you're transitioning from one industry to a next, I would try to identify a problem in your current industry and develop your own app to solve that problem. So like, for example, right? So this pastor who messaged me, right? So like, I grew up in the church. Like, so, I can kind of speak to it kind of briefly, but sure. Let's say tithing, for example, right? Like, where does the money go? Like, how do you keep track of it? It's probably by Excel docs or like just pen and paper. And it's like, for me, if I was a developer and I was a pastor, what better thing to do than like maybe develop a app in a virtual dashboard in JavaScript where you can kind of keep track of all the tithing and offerings, right? So it's like, that's my recommendation, right? A lot of people in Nashville are in music and they want to move into software. Like, hey, what's one of the issues in the music industry that you have, right? Touring and booking is always a problem. And I did touring for 10 years. I did music. Nice. Like, I understand. That's why I moved to Nashville to do music. So like, I understand that, like, the art of booking and like following up with, managers or people at bars to make sure you're still good to play. We've shown up sometimes and you're supposed to play that night and no one wrote it down and they've already overscheduled, right? So, you could develop essentially almost like a Calendly app where you can it sends automated emails to check in with the venues before you leave for tour. So I think that's what I would do is I would really know your industry that you're in and develop a app to get experience. And then, so then you can walk through that with a potential employer.
So totally agree. And just for my own clarity, and you can tell me if this is right or wrong, because I always tell people, if you don't have experience, quote unquote experience, you build portfolio, right? That's your experience. Essentially, experience is portfolio that you built for someone else. So it's the same thing. And I like your idea about, focus on the thing, because people definitely find it hard to what am I gonna build? Right. Let's just figure it out. But what you're saying is essentially build portfolio, and this is a great way to do it. But we're not talking about you need to build an app that's going to be successful, right? Like, you could have 0 users and it still counts as I built this thing and I can walk someone through how to do it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you don't have to. So with my morning show, I interview a lot of hiring managers, and the biggest thing I hear, especially around junior developers, is they all view junior developers the same, aka they don't know much, and that's not negative. It is what it is. Let's just be honest. So then what do they look for? They look for communication skills. And the biggest issue I consistently hear from hiring managers is junior developers cannot walk through the app they built and say why they did what they did.
Right.
And so that's what I would say is statement, I built this app because of this. Here's what I used. I used React hooks because it's quicker, because I needed it to render on this page faster because of this type thing. So.
Yeah.